Unbelievable. Tavon may be an executive chef at 22, but he did little to impress me in his short stay in Hell's Kitchen. I'm sure that Chris prays that he never sees another scallop, and after tonight, I pray I don't see any more of him. Tonight, Briana had a battle with the cod, and the cod won, and that's why her time in Hell's Kitchen was a short one. Everyone in Hell's Kitchen starts at the bottom. Unfortunately, Don stayed there. Guy's performance in Hell's Kitchen was extremely inconsistent, and that is why I know he is not the guy to run Gordon Ramsay's steak. Roshni is a small lady with a big heart. Unfortunately, her performance tonight matched her stature. Patrick talked a good game, but he couldn't back it up with his cooking. So it was time for him to leave Hell's Kitchen. Royce came in promising a Rolls-Royce service, but instead his service was like a broken down car. Time to send Royce to the junkyard. The most passionate I ever saw Tiffany was moments ago, when she was already on her way out. That was just too late. As a woman from Memphis, tonight's Southern cuisine menu should have been an easy walk in the park for Kimmie, but it turned out to be a difficult uphill battle, and that is why it was her time to go. Brian had a lot of energy, and he was a funny guy, but after tonight's performance, I wasn't laughing, and that's why he has to leave Hell's Kitchen. Making it to the Black Jackets was a dream come true for Robyn, but cooking against the runners-up was a reality check for her and for me. Christina's passion and talent are undeniable. She's a strong leader who is totally at home in the kitchen. I know I'm not rolling the dice with her in Vegas because she is the real deal. Sebastian tried to be funny, but it was his cooking that was the joke. Every dinner service, Danielle looked like a deer in the headlights, and that's why she ended up as dead meat. When Jessica first arrived, I had high expectations for her. Unfortunately, she let us both down. Dan was just too much of a wild card. There's no way I'm betting a restaurant in Vegas on him. Jacqueline talked a good game, but unfortunately for her, I need someone who can deliver. Ray's age wasn't the issue, it was his cooking, and I wasn't getting any younger waiting for him to improve. Nedra wore a red jacket and a blue jacket, but after tonight's performance, I knew that she wouldn't be wearing a black jacket. Anthony hobbled through Hell's Kitchen, and even though his leg eventually got better, his cooking didn't. There once was a chef named Zach, for words he didn't lack. But in the kitchen, he was no magician, and he won't be coming back. Susan had little experience, but she came a long way. She's not ready to lead my kitchen in Vegas, but I'm happy to say that she'll be leaving Hell's Kitchen as a real chef. In all my years in Hell's Kitchen, I have never seen a more composed individual than Janelle. And that is why I am so happy to have this ambitious, creative and talented woman as my head chef. There's so many things about India that I love. It's a shame Gaurav isn't one of them. I'm not looking for a line cook, but if I were, I still wouldn't have hired Nicole. She was useless. Hell's Kitchen is about making someone's wish come true. Simone wished to leave Hell's Kitchen. That is an easy one. Wish granted. There once was a cook named Mike. He couldn't cook fish or any other dish, so I told him to take a hike. DeMarco, demented, demoted, denied. Beth thinks the reason she hasn't advanced in the culinary industry is the fact that she's a woman in the South. I think it's because she can't cook. I'd like to think every chef has a talent. Chris needs to keep looking for his. Beth may be a great food truck chef. Unfortunately for her, Hell's Kitchen doesn't have wheels. Ralph has a lot of heart, but when it comes to cooking, he comes up a little short. It may have been charity night in Hell's Kitchen, but when it comes to Sandra, I wasn't in a charitable mood. Richard had more experience than anyone here, but it's not experience I'm looking for, it's talent. Anton let the little success he had in Hell's Kitchen inflate his ego. It was time to let the air out of that balloon. With Gabriel causing such a disaster in the kitchen tonight, it was hard to tell who else I should send home. So I gave everybody the thrill of getting a black jacket, but somebody should definitely be going home after the next dinner service. Kashia is a great line cook with an incredible attitude. Unfortunately for her, she's just not ready to run her own brigade yet. Joy's quitting was one of the most shocking things I've ever experienced in Hell's Kitchen. But her lack of maturity tonight proved that she is not ready to be a head chef, because leaders never quit. Got one tonight because there's all the qualities I'm looking for in a head chef. He is passionate, determined, and a true leader. Nice. He's an artist plating food and has a phenomenal palate. There's no doubt in my mind that he's got a great career ahead of him. Everyone in Hell's Kitchen starts at the bottom. Unfortunately, JP stayed there. Cooking risotto is elementary, but tonight I found out Janai is still in kindergarten. I waited for JR to wake up and find his voice, but he never did, and so I let him sleepwalk out of here. In Kaylin's mind, her performance was flawless, and every dish she cooked was perfect. Unfortunately for her, I live in reality. Dream on, Kaylin. Tonight, I finally got a respectful service. So I gave them a little respect and didn't send anyone home. Frank wrote me a letter of gratitude. And then, with his performance tonight, he wrote his ticket out of here. Ciao, Frank. I found it quite strange that Aaron didn't even have the will to succeed. He clearly didn't belong in Hell's Kitchen. Fernando's cooking was adequate, but his leadership was lacking. Being my next head chef requires both. Santos dodged the bullets in the last 2 nominations, but tonight, there was nowhere to hide. Ro thought she would row herself into the final 4, but a performance tonight in the kitchen put her up a creek with no paddles. Natasha has all the right ingredients to be a great chef. She's creative, a strong leader, has great attention to detail, and has an outstanding palate. But the thing I love most about Natasha is her determination. I know that she's ready for the challenge of being my head chef in Atlantic City, and I couldn't be happier. There is nothing more terrifying to Krista than jumping off a building. But there is nothing more terrifying to me than the thought of having her as my next head chef. Cameron was too intimidated to perform when I was watching him, so I did him a favour and made sure that he doesn't have to be around me anymore. Fortunately for Michael, he can go back to his job at the senior centre. Unfortunately for his residents, it's as the chef. You've heard of the saying, the meek shall inherit the earth. Well, the meeker shall not inherit the position as my next head chef. Moni acted like she was the victim, but the real victim was anyone who had to eat her food tonight. Brendan considers himself a well-read chef. Unfortunately, it's only his books that have a spine. Sarah kept telling me she was here to learn. Unfortunately for her, I'm not looking for learners, I'm looking for leaders. Brett's competition may have ended in the bathroom today, but it was Adam's failure on the meat station that flushed his dream down the toilet. Christine clearly didn't have the faith and confidence of her team. After giving her a chance to cook for her life, she didn't do enough to change their mind or mine. This was the first time I've seen Josh and Randy perform that poorly. So I decided to give them a second chance. Hopefully, having new teammates will ensure it never happens again. I love Randy's work ethic. Unfortunately, his positive attitude couldn't camouflage his lack of experience. Alison had a strong voice in the kitchen. Unfortunately, she couldn't talk her way into a black jacket. Josh had great passion and a strong service tonight. Unfortunately, it was too little, too late. Having the remaining black jackets work as my sous chefs was an eye-opening experience. Unfortunately for Nick, it helped me see he's not the leader I'm looking for. Megan has every quality I look for in a head chef. She is passionate, determined, and has an amazing palate. But most importantly, Megan is a born leader who makes every chef in her kitchen better. Mark was a disaster from the start. The best thing I saw from him was his back as he walked out the door. When the Arctic char was destroyed over and over, so were Shakina's chances of being a head chef. Vanessa had a lot of heart, but as far as her cooking was concerned, she made food only a mother could love. After being nominated 3 times in a row due to the lack of communication, Mies may want to consider changing her name to Mouse. On a night when the dining room was filled with children, it was Alan who needed a babysitter. He and Kevin should both understand I'm not running a daycare. Eddie couldn't lead, and he certainly couldn't follow. And so it was time to get the out the way. I thought a move on the red team would give Hassan a chance to shine. Unfortunately, it only shined the light on his shortcomings. Chad desperately needs to regain his confidence, and Danny is desperate to be a leader. Hopefully, their new teams will bring out the best of both of them. Joe had an amazing taste profile and was a standout in challenges. Unfortunately for him, dinner services were just out of his reach. I gave Chad numerous chances to regain his confidence. Unfortunately, he wasted them all. Jackie was one of the most outspoken chefs in the history of Hell's Kitchen. It's just a shame her mouth was bigger than her talent. Like all Marines, Frank was strong and very proud. Unfortunately for him, he's just not ready for the rank of head chef. Danny may be a boxer in her spare time, but her lack of fight tonight proved she just couldn't go the distance. I can't deny Amanda's passion, nor Gerard's commitment, but it was painfully obvious that they just couldn't measure up to my final three. Ashley is a young chef with a very bright future. She earned her place in the final three, and I have no doubt she'll be a great success. Creative, talented and unique, she is an out-of-the-box thinker who will make a great head chef at BLT Steak. Pat is Italian and couldn't even cook risotto. What a meatball. Ciao, Pat. When a chef shows me he has no passion, I show him the door. Goodbye, Janai. A chef who can't handle confrontation is like a boxer who doesn't want to get hit. Jessica just threw in the towel. I gave Gia a second chance, which proved to be 2 chances too many. See you, Gia. To be a great chef, you have to earn respect from your brigade. Being so young and inexperienced, Aaron was never going to do that with his team, and that's why I took his jacket. Johnny's a burger chef from Philly. Unfortunately for him, the 2 words he'll never hear from me are, well done. Both kitchens performed horrendously tonight. I'm hoping that by eliminating Matt and Shayna, both teams will finally have a chance at success. First, Wendy told me her capers took a walk. Then it was the potatoes. But after watching her lack of consistency and confidence, I knew it was her turn to take a walk. Devon had a hard time remembering the tickets. Unfortunately, his performance tonight will be hard to forget. Andrew had 3 chances to save his life in Hell's Kitchen. Like they say, 3 strikes and you're out. Heidi is a very talented chef with a bright future, but it will not be at Yardbird in Las Vegas. Early on, I challenged Ryan to find her voice, and once she proved to me that she could command a kitchen, there was no stopping her.
Great job. Thank you.
She has the tenacity, drive, and skill that will make her a great head chef
at Yardbird Southern Table and Bar at the Venetian in Las Vegas.
Big Ben, more like big liability. He clearly wasn't going to be able to keep up, so I had to let him down. Ashley spent more time staring at her watch than paying attention to her station. And so, her time here in Hell's Kitchen is done. Medic, more like pathetic. While Gerard's cut was imaginary, now he knows what it really is like to get cut. Giovanni may have age and experience, but his attention to detail in this critical challenge was a big disappointment. Arrivederci, Giovanni. Amanda said she never heard the ticket that sunk her team. Sadly, she's not going to hear her name being called as the winner of Hell's Kitchen either. Van's always had one of the loudest voices here. Tonight, not only did he lose his voice, but also his dream of becoming my next head chef. Barbie's performance at charity night was a disaster, so I performed a charity act for her team by sending her home. In 2 seasons, this was Dana's first time ever being nominated. Unfortunately for her, it was also her last. I've always admired Robyn's no-nonsense attitude, but tonight she had the wrong attitude and served up a lot of nonsense.
Ramsey.
Millie has had 2 fantastic runs in Hell's Kitchen. I'm personally going to make sure that that big, kind-hearted man with so much culinary passion gets the right training he deserves. Easy. Having the youngest of all-stars step up and win this competition is a testament to Michelle's talent. At a very young age, she has already proven she is driven, creative and commanding. She will be a great asset to Hell's Kitchen in Las Vegas. Scott remembers working with some of the biggest named chefs in the world, but whether they would remember him is another matter entirely. I know I won't remember him by tomorrow. What the was she on? Jen accused me of sabotaging her. The truth of the matter is, the only thing that sabotaged Jen tonight was her cooking. Kevin was a standout in his first time in Hell's Kitchen. Unfortunately, this time around, he seemed more determined to head back to the ski slopes than to the Las Vegas Strip. As a former runner-up, I expected T to come back full of swagger and skill. Sadly, she came back with double the swagger, but only a fraction of the skill. I had such high hopes for Gizzy from day one. But if she doesn't truly believe in herself, then I can't believe in her either. Last time she was here, Ro was a tour de force on the meat station. But tonight, her performance left me as cold as a raw New York strip. I really hoped that Scotty would be the big bad wolf of my restaurant in Las Vegas. But after his performance tonight, I could not let him in. Not by the hair on my chinny chin chin. On a night when it should have been Hell's Kitchen giving back to some amazing charities, it was charities that ended up giving back Jose's raw veal. Trevor is one of the most passionate chefs I've ever had in Hell's Kitchen. But until he has the support of his brigade, he'll continue to be lost at sea. Too many times, Heather blamed her mistakes on having a bad day. I'm not looking for apologies. I'm looking for an executive chef. Since the first time she was here, Ariel has grown tenfold as a chef. She is fiercely talented, extremely determined, and a commanding leader. I could not be more pleased to have her as my executive chef of Hell's Kitchen in Las Vegas.